Oh, hey there! Welcome to another episode of the Empire 161 show. That was good, right? That was good.
I think you surprised yourself.
I surprised everybody. I'm Ed, if you haven't tuned in before. What's up? With me now, as always, is Lisa Garcia. What's up?
Hey, everybody. How's everyone doing? So, admittedly, today's going to be a hard show, folks, because if you watched any of the games, it's been really hard to watch for the last two series. But Ed and I are here to talk about it, to get you through it. We're going to work out our feelings on how the Yankees are looking, how other people have shown up to the games. I'm looking at you, Shohei Ohtani. We're going to talk about the All-Star game coming up, a.k.a. it's on my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. So we're looking forward to that. And then we will also talk about the Subway Series. And we'll talk a little bit about what the Yankees are looking like right now and what people are saying on the team. And we'll also talk about what's coming up after the All-Star break. So stay tuned for that. Actually, before the All-Star break. And Ed and I will both be traveling separately to different parts of the country. So we'll give you a little heads up about that. And we'll be coming back after that. So stay tuned. This will be a fun but difficult show. We'll make it fun.
Exactly. We're going to do our best to make it fun. We can be your therapy couch, whatever it is we need to talk about.
I am a licensed social worker, so
Lisa's actually qualified to do this. I can hit you with some numbers and stuff and give you the baseball perspective, but Lisa can actually do something about this. So,
like Aaron Judge said in the players' meeting, they talked a lot about their feelings. So bring it to me, folks. Bring it to me.
Get it off your chest. Get it off your chest. That's what you got to do, man. That's what it is. All right, so why don't we kick off the show like we usually do? It's with our TWIB segment, which is for us, older fans. It's This Week in Baseball, which Mel Allen used to host when we were all kids. Various topics around Major League Baseball, and we'll get to it. I mean, the big topic around baseball right now is Trevor Bauer. An unfortunate story that had popped up. He's dealing with allegations, of abuse with a woman that he was seeing, or they had some sort of relationship with that. I mean, the details are still kind of fuzzy, but apparently she has evidence of like some bumps and bruises and whatnot. And before we're not going to dive into that part of it. I mean, there seems to be evidence of certain things that were not, on the up and up in that situation.
So Ed, if it makes it easier, I'll name it. I'll name it since I represent the females. So yes. Allegedly, we're always going to say allegedly here. Yes. Bauer allegedly, what the woman is saying is that he allegedly choked, punched, and committed other non-consensual acts with her after her original consent to engage in sexual intercourse with him. So even though she consented to get together with him twice and be intimate with him, she did not consent to the things that allegedly subsequently happened during those two times that they were together. And these allegedly both happened once in April and once in May.
Yeah, so he's dealing with that. The Dodgers that put him on. I mean, baseball's put him on admit. Oh, there we go. I'm back and disappeared and came back. So he's dealing with that kind of thing. He's pretty much off the mound. The Dodgers had signed him to a 4-year, pretty massive deal before in the offseason. But a tough spot the Dodgers are in, and that baseball is in, and Bauer and. Obviously the victim is dealing with as well. I mean, it's a tough one, man. The Dodgers are, we'll just really focus, I guess, on the baseball ramifications of this, because the other stuff is very. It's a situation that there's a lot of hearsay. Like Lisa said, it's alleged, so we don't really know for sure. But we're going to deal with, say he's innocent until proven guilty, because that's the way it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily always the case, but it does not look good for him. From baseball perspective, I could at least say is that's just a tough blow to the Dodgers. I mean, they were counting on him to be one of their top their top starting pitchers, and he was also one who was believed to have used spider tech or pelican grip, or we'll just call it sticky stuff because there can be 1,000 different things, as baseball seems to be calling it sticky stuff. He's kind of fallen off as well, as we'll get to one of or two of our starting pitchers that have had to deal with as well. So his performance was kind of going in the toilet anyway. Lisa, what are your thoughts on the situation with Bauer?
I mean, I think it's a little bit hard, right? As a woman, you get judged for things, right? So women get judged for what we wear, and if we're flirting with somebody, and then that turns into something more serious, and we get accused for, well, you were flirting with the person. So while not knowing the whole story, not knowing what's true and what's not, if the situation is true, I feel very much so for the woman involved in this, because she consented to some things, and then there were things that she didn't want to happen that happened, and she allegedly passed out, and when she woke up, she had bruises on her, and she allegedly was lucid and vividly remembers some things that allegedly happened to her. So that's a terrible position to be in for anybody, male or female, when you're the alleged victim of something like this. So my heart goes out for that. And at the same time, I know how difficult it is for people who are victims to come out and say things, particularly when it's a famous person, right? So I do appreciate that Major League Baseball is going to conduct its own investigation. They apparently want to talk to Trevor Bauer and the woman, and they want to know if this ever happened before with him. So I like that they're being proactive on their end. They're not waiting for, outside of baseball, whatever the investigation is that may or may not happen. They're looking into it. They put him on the leave. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate a little bit more action when it comes to these things in Major League Baseball. It's been coming to light a little bit more over the last few years. So I do appreciate that baseball and other sports are acting on this a little bit more than, in the past. I feel like it was much more hush hush. So I appreciate that aspect.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, it's something that, in general, it's good to see people are acting a little bit swifter on this, that it's, they're encouraging people to come forward who have been victims of this. And like you said, I can't imagine that's an easy thing to do. And baseball, I guess, is trying to do the right thing in this tough spot. And I guess we'll see where it goes, because he is also facing criminal charges on top of this. So, I mean, he could literally be, found, obviously, if he's found but the criminal charges stick, I mean, he's going to be arrested on top of that, and then that's even bigger than anything that we're looking at from the baseball perspective. So,
yeah,
unfortunate situation with Bauer. But on a lighter note, on a more strictly baseball focused thing, we just got to address Shohei Ohtani. The dude is just out of control. We got to see him a little bit, earlier this week as he was facing the Yanks in the stadium. And I mean, no pun intended, outside of he put on a hitting show. We'll put it that way.
Yes.
We'll get to the other part of it in a few minutes. Part that I'm not gonna personally be too upset about. He can have his starts. He's gonna have his starts that are great in other places, but he was
happy it wasn't a good start with the Yankees.
Yes, that's fine. He doesn't have to have his good starts here. That's okay. But I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge what the heck this guy is doing. I mean, it's really insane. It is truly something that none of us have ever seen in our lifetime. I mean, he was just selected yesterday as the All-Star starters were announced and the All-Star rosters were announced. He's the first two-way player that's been on the All-Star team, so he's been selected as both a pitcher and as a hitter. He was voted as DH as well, and that's by his peers, not just by the fans. So that's the
major recognition.
His peers are giving him a lot of respect on it. They're showing him a lot of props with this. But I wanted to pull up Ohtani's numbers. So as a pitcher, he's 3-1 this year with a 3.60 ERA. He started 12. That's in 12 starts. He has 83 strikeouts and 60 innings pitched. His WHIP is not so great, at a 1.27. But again, the fact that he's even doing this at all and able to show up on the other side of it is kind of nuts.
Absolutely. Yeah, and while we were watching one of the games, I heard I know CC Sabathia came to watch him, and he said he's the greatest player that CC's ever seen.
Which is a huge statement from a guy like CC Sabathia. I mean, CC has been around the block and everything. I mean, he's going to be. I'm sure CC will get into the Hall of Fame when his time comes as well. So I mean, the guy definitely knows he's a legit source to know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to go ahead and I was having some trouble pulling up on MLB.com his hitting stats.
I have something that they posted during one of the games. If you'd like me to read that off.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm just gonna say everything. I know you said some of his pitching stats during this game that they posted. This was in Game 3. They said that his pitching was a 2.58 ERA, which was 5th in the league. Their opponent's batting average was 188, which was 6th in the league. 12.44 strikeouts per 9 innings, which is 4th in the league, and 33.1% strikeout percentage was 5th in the league. And then when it came to batting as of that game, 28 home runs, 1st in the league, 63 RBIs, 3rd in the league, 688 slugging percentage, 2nd in the league, and 1.049 OPS, which is 3rd in the league. I mean, this guy's got remarkable numbers, and he keeps putting on a show everywhere he goes. Everybody wants to watch him. So it's pretty fun to watch, in a season where, as a Yankee fan, it's been a little bit challenging to watch our games. It is fun to see other people really going above and beyond anything that you and I have ever experienced live. Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle were some of the men that did some remarkable things back in the day that we didn't get to see live. And now here's this guy, both being an amazing pitcher and an amazing player on contributing on the field with his hitting and everything. It's pretty phenomenal. And he's young. I think he's only 26.
It's 20. Well, I just finally got it on Baseball Reference. So he's 27 years old.
27.
And he just turned 27. Literally, I think his birthday was it's either today or yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Shohei Ohtani. So his up to the minute stats. His stat line is he's hitting 278 with 31 home runs, 67 RBIs, 12 stolen bases, by the way, in an era where people don't run anymore. So to have 12 stolen bases is a lot. I mean, the guy's also pretty huge as well. I mean, the guy is 6'4", 210. So he's running. I mean, the guy's really fast as well. His on-base percentage is 366. His slugging 704. His OPS is 1.070. And he has 60 runs scored and 77 hits. I mean, he's one of the best hitters in baseball while still being a starting pitcher and taking him out every 5 days. So, I mean, it's awfully impressive. And he has passed Hideki Matsui, who we had shared an article that he had shared on the Players Tribune this week. That was pretty awesome. He had passed up Hideki Matsui for most home runs in a season already by a Japanese-born player. Wow. And he's also one of the first players to hit over 30 home runs and have over 10 stolen bases at this point in the season. So pretty remarkable historic things that he's doing there. I happen to know a few people are kind of hating on him. They're just like, oh, it's enough. They're talking about him like he's like Jesus or something like that and everything like that. I'm like, the guy is doing things I've never seen in my lifetime. I don't know where you're seeing these things being done, and better show me that league, because that's the league I want to start watching. If you're seeing that special league that no one else knows about, that'd be pretty impressive to see a guy be able to do that. But caps off to Ohtani, man. And we're actually going to see him because the Thursday game was rained out. So I actually have tickets to that game. That was the first of the rain out games I was supposed to go to with Jerry's cousin Danny. And so I'll get to see him, live, later on in the season. But we'll see in the All-Star game. I mean, I think it'd be pretty cool if he started as the pitcher in the All-Star game as well. Why not? Just, again, baseball needs to market their stars. It's one thing that they've been getting knocked for, but they're trying to. They're trying to change that, the way that the NBA does, the way that the NFL does. So it would be pretty smart for baseball to make sure that he's featured in All-Star Weekend. He's going to be in a home run derby. I mean, he's going to have the stage that night. We'll see what he can do there. I'm pretty sure the guy's going to put on no pun intended, a show at the home run derby as well. All right, so let's we're not going to beat around the bush with it. Let's get to it. When the Angels were in town, let's take a trip back in time. to last Monday night, where the Yanks dropped 1-5-3 to the to the Angels. Tough one there. Michael King. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it wasn't just tough for the Yankees; it was also tough for Bundy.
Oh yes,
because poor Bundy left in the bottom of the first inning with heat exhaustion after he exhausted himself right on the pitcher's mound on live national TV, which has to be like I saw the picture that we posted was pretty gross.
Yeah,
it was a perfectly timed picture by whoever took it. So, but I feel for him.
Yeah, so I was actually playing. We had a heat wave here in New York. If you're not in New York, we were having the middle of a heat wave. It started on Monday, right on time. I was actually had a softball game a couple of nights in a row, so it was early. I was catching most of the game in the bar after that. I happened to walk into the bar when early on in the game, and I picked my head up. I'm checking it out. And all of a sudden, I saw that. I caught Bundy leaning over, and I turned to Angie and Paul. I was like, "Did he just throw up?" I'm like, did that just happen?
And then I immediately texted you to confirm. Yeah. Yes, he did.
He's like, holy shit! Like,
oh man,
that's rough. And he actually ended up coming back out of the bullpen a couple of days later.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did, and it was a little bit better that time. At least there was no yakking on the mound. But Michael King got the start in that game. He took the loss. Wasn't terrible. I mean, he was pitched 4 1/3, 6 hits, not great. 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Gio Urshela hit his 10th home run of the season. He was 2 for 3, and Stanton hit his 14th home run of the season. But overall, though, a night where the Yanks really couldn't get much going. I mean, there wasn't a lot of hits. The offense seemed like it was still in the doldrums, kind of just ho-hum going about it. And then, a lot of things were said after the game in the post-game press conference, which we'll get to in our next segment quickly. But it was just, it didn't look like it was more of the same again right after the Red Sox series and getting swept. Little offense, pitching was mediocre, and just really couldn't come back for it.
Yeah, one of the things that stood out to me in a not so great way from the game was that they said that the leadoff man for the Yankees only reached base twice in the entire game. And the crowd booed at the end. I mean, people listen, Yankee fans are not shy about telling the team when they're doing really well and when they're doing really bad. So there was a lot of booing going on over the course of this last week. And we definitely let the team know how we're feeling. I'm sure they'd boo themselves as well after all of that.
Yeah. And again, we'll hold off of the statements that were made by, Boone came out a lot, spoke this week. Stanton was actually one who was also pretty outspoken this week as well. Judge, Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman, but we'll save that for the next segment because I think it'll tie it nicely into all the things we're going to get into. But then Tuesday night, it looked like the Bombers had woken up. It looks like the things were starting to get going around as they were facing Shohei Ohtani. So it's a game that going into it, you're like, all right, team is struggling, not hitting, and now you're going to face this guy. Oh, shit, here we go. But I mean, I don't know if the moment was too big for him or what, but it looked like he couldn't find the plate, to save his life that night. But the Yanks teed off on him. I mean, they had spanked him 11-5. Gary Sanchez was 2 for 5 with a home run, and that was his 14th of the season with 2 RBIs. Judge went deep for his 18th. Miggy hit his home run for the 6th of the season. And Gleyber Torres, there was actually a Gleyber Torres sighting in his stat column, which was nice to see. He was 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. And ready, Lisa, it's a good thing we're sitting down. A stolen base.
I know.
Somebody on the Yankees stole a base.
I know.
Holy shit. His 5th of the season. But yeah, so Jameson Taillon did start this game as well. Didn't really highlight his stat line because it wasn't anything to write home about. I mean, he gave up 5 earned runs. He pitched like 5 innings. Not great. If this is a rare game this season where the offense actually picked up the pitching, which has not been the story for the Yanks most of the season. Going into it, I think we probably safe to say we both expected that to be the case. The pitching was suspect. We're like, all right, we're going to slug our way through, and we'll see what happens. But this is one night when it actually did happen. And it wasn't like it took 1,000 home runs to go ahead and put up all 11 runs. It was a nice balanced attack, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is what it could be. It's something.
Yeah. And I think for me, the standout player of that game was really Miguel Andujar. He went 3 for 4 with a home run, and I feel like he was just starting to hit more consistently, and hitting it clean too. There were, during the Boston series, we talked about how the Yankees barely hit the ball over 65 miles an hour. It barely left the infield, right? So in this game, we're seeing a little bit more hope. We're seeing harder hits. As you mentioned, Gleyber Torres had a good job that game, which I'm sure was a relief for him. But this game was great, and then the next game happened.
Yeah, so let's get to it because this is the one that really kind of like set a lot of things on fire when it looked like things were going well in this game for quite some time, and then rain happened. And it looked like they were going to get the game. The Yanks were leading at that point. I believe it was 7-3 at that point.
Yes.
When the rain had rolled in and we got hit with a pretty heavy thunderstorm. And I was like, all right, so this game's probably, let's hope we can just get it to the official. Play resumed. You could tell the umpires were pushing through the rain because it started raining again. And they were like, let's just get the game into the official. And then they put the tarp back on the field. And we kind of all thought, all right, that's it. If the game's going to be official, we're just waiting. We're waiting. And shockingly, the first shock of the night was that they restarted the game.
So that was, I think, in the 5th inning was the second rain out. And fun fact, folks, Lisa does not like thunder. So between the 4th of July being yesterday and thunder during that game, I wore these a lot. So I texted Ed and was like, Ed, I'm out. Sorry. Like it's already whatever time it was like 10, 11 o'clock. I had to get up I had to be in a school at 7:30 in the morning the next day. I was like, I'll watch the recap. And when I woke up the next morning, I was like, what the heck? What happened?
Lisa, you and many others, probably, most assumed the game was going to be wrapped. I started watching the NBA Finals. I clicked on during commercials to say, let's see when the official word comes in. And then I was completely shocked that they restarted the game. And boy, did I wish it kept raining because the Yanks bullpen really, really shit. I mean, no way to put around. They shit the bed this game. I mean, this is Chapman was brought in with a 4-run lead, just to get him some work. We all know Chapman's been struggling, but he came in, and as you can see on the stat line on the bottom, literally a third of an inning pitched, 1 hit, 4 earned runs, and 3 walks. I mean, it was one of those things where some people may remember the Cardinals' Rick Ankiel, who literally had to become a position player because he couldn't he had no idea where the ball was going. Chapman kind of had that look in his face where he had no idea where it was going. He had 0 fastball command. The only thing he was getting over was like a mediocre hanging slider once in a while. And it was really hard to watch. So then he loads up the bases. First pitch, with the fastball command being completely out the window, he hangs the slider to Walsh, who you could tell he was sitting slider the whole time, and cranks a grand slam, to tie the game, and your jaw's on the floor. You were completely stunned. And then Litke comes in after that when Chapman had a couple other people come on, and you're thinking, all right, maybe Litke can put out this fire and at least keep it 8-8, and the Yanks could kind of salvage it. And then Litke came in pitching 2/3 of an inning and 3 earned runs, and it sucks too because Litke's been a guy who's been pretty reliable for Boone for most of the season. He's trusted him a lot of big spots, but that was not to be the case. To recap some of the offensive highlights from earlier in the game, DJ was 1 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Guardy hit his 3rd home run of the season, and he also had a double. He was 2 for 2 with 2 ribbies. Stanton was 2 for 4 with an RBI, but this isn't one you put on the offense. I mean, they put up 8 runs. That should easily be enough to win a baseball game. The bullpen just completely imploded in this one. Domingo Ramon had started this game as well, who was way long gone at that point. He was lost after the first rain delay. He was not pitching that great to begin with, but the offense looked like they were going to pick up, the pitching again. And this is the one that really set off the firestorm for the week. I mean, this was pretty bad. I would honestly say this is the worst loss of the season, and I just kind of feel like this is something I feel like I'm thinking to myself every week, at least once or twice a week. I'm like, oh, wow, this is the worst loss of the season. This one right now, it currently holds it. Whatever we're going to talk about after this, this is it. I mean, you don't go ahead and blow a 4-run lead with your all-star. Yes, he's an all-star closer on the mound, officially named an all-star because I know it seems like it was 10 years ago, but there was a point this season when Aroldis Chapman was completely untouchable.
Mhm.
And now it's like he has no clue when the ball leaves his hand where the hell it's going. It's rough to watch.
Yeah, they mentioned in during the Mets series, which we'll get to, but they mentioned that in his last 8 games, Chapman's ERA is 17.47.
Yeah,
I mean that's rough. That's
and
rough.
we're not talking about a lot of innings pitched either. We're talking about a pretty small sample size.
No,
of
it's
pitches.
yeah, he's allowed 13 runs in the last 9 games. So that's that's not a good ratio right there at all, to
That
say
is
the least.
really, really ugly. Really ugly. Lisa, you're putting this very nicely. Those are maybe not the words I would have used to do that, but it's better that you said it than me.
I will say, I know we're going to talk a little bit more about the Yankees after we do the recap, but I will say one of the things that I notice is people's body language, right? And his body language when he lets up these he let up the first grand slam of his career, and he's just like, like,
and we know what that is. That's like
shrug.
a nervous switch though, because I think some fans will look at that and be like, he doesn't care. It's kind of almost like you don't know what else to do with yourself.
Yeah.
You're just like, what do you do? He's completely embarrassed and stunned at the same time. And that's kind of, I guess, just sometimes what people do.
Yeah, I don't know though. What like well, we'll get into it. I'll save the rest of the body language thing for later, because you know whose body language I'm reading.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's get into the Thursday was rained out, so that series got pushed to mid-August, and then Friday's game was rained out, which I was at with Sam, and we were trying to get to, but that didn't work out. They waited an hour and a half, and at least Sam got his bacon on the stick, which he was pretty excited about. But Saturday afternoon, the Yanks actually got the game, and this is a game that Lisa and I had attended, and there was talk of doing a tease for this episode of Empire 161, but then we were in a pretty foul mood after the game. We were like, maybe next time.
We were cold. We were annoyed.
Yeah, it was pretty annoying. It was a pretty annoying situation. And again, this isn't because it's like, oh, they lost to the Mets. Like, I don't give a shit who they lost to. If they lost to the freaking Chico's bail bonds, I wouldn't care, who the hell it was. Like, it might as well be the same thing. But Jordan Montgomery got to start in the game. Again, seems like this is the theme that's going, lasting 4 in the third. 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. But I'm going to say, though, on top of that, I don't think Boone should have taken him out at the point he took him out. I think he was in a situation where I would have kind of liked to see him work through that jam, because the game was close at this point. It's not like it was out of hand and everything like that. But Justin Wilson, my good buddy Justin Wilson, came in to make sure that the game got completely out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Who literally didn't even record an out in the game. Okay? Giving up 4 hits, 5 earned runs without recording an out. 5 earned runs without recording an out. The only glimmer of brightness for the Yanks on this day was Judge going deep for his 19th homer of the season, which at that point we were like, hey, remember we had said it was like, let's do the steps. Let's break up the no-hitter, because Taijuan Walker was no-hitting them. Step 2 was, all right, let's break up the shutout. Step 3, comeback.
Mm-hmm. We got 2 out of 3.
We got 2 out of 3.
In one shot.
One shot. It was an impressive homer by Judge, but it's not really what you want to hear, when you get spanked on 8-3. The Yanks had showed life, though, in the 1 inning. They got something going. I mean, remember, they were rallying and like, okay, let's see.
Urshela got his 2-run single.
Yeah.
But just wasn't enough. The biggest takeaway for me from that game was I made my nephew very happy, because after the game, we went and purchased him the 4th of July hat. And I was just telling you before the show, he hasn't taken it off.
I love it.
So we got that for him. Well, I got it from his mom, but I'm the one who picked it up. And that was the best part of the game for me, was to know that he was going to be happy about that, because that game was a rough one to sit through, and you were there witnessing me with my hoodie on, trying to block the little spattering of rain that was hitting us in the section we were sitting in. So yeah. And another difficult one for them. And then the next game didn't help either.
We'll get to that, but I feel like there was something that happened at the game besides listening to the seems like, I guess, that somebody who must have a similar season ticket plan as I do. But there's these two women that sit behind us that they just all you hear. It very much reminds me, and like I'm pretty sure I mentioned the Muppets in the section. The two old guys from the Muppets that just completely complain about everything and bitch and moan about everything. That's them, like up close. No matter what happens, it's like you don't know how. If you would just listen to them and didn't watch the games, you wouldn't know how anyone's Major League Baseball player. You like would think they all have like two left feet. They have no idea what they're doing. It would be astonishing that they were able to pick up a bat or like throw a ball or do anything. Like it's hard to listen to. I mean, I've had no choice but to laugh at this point because it's just it's comical. It doesn't matter if they're winning or losing. It's the same thing every single time. It's doom and gloom immediately, which drives me completely nuts. All right, well, let's get to the first half of the doubleheader, and we'll talk about this quickly. And then there's something that really grinds my gears about this game: the fact that it was 7 innings. All right, so whatever. Listen, the Mets, the Yanks had the lead, even though it was like the Yanks took the lead early. Cole's on the hill. We're like, all right, we got our ace. This is the guy. He's gonna stop the BS, stop the losing streak, like every every ace is supposed to do. This is what you get paid the big bucks for. And he lasted 3 1/3, giving up 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 Ks. And then we had another Chapman implosion in the 9th inning. And Licky followed up with it. It was almost like deja vu all over again, as Yogi would say. Chapman didn't record an out, 1 hit, 3 earned runs. Licky had 1 inning pitched, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them were earned. The bright spot was Kyle Higashioka with his 2-run bases loaded single. Yanks left 12 runners on. So I don't blame Boone. I was fine with Boone taking Cole out when he did. I mean, Cole looks like he had nothing completely out of nowhere. Not having the sticky stuff, whether he wanted to say the words or not, he's pretty much admitted it without really saying the words. It has affected him. It has clearly affected him. I'm hoping that, we have this guy for a long time, and I'm really, really concerned at this point, is how good can he be when he figures this out again? Because he needs to be the guy with the 250 to 300 strikeouts a year, on top 5 elite starting pitcher in all of baseball. Right now, I don't know. I have no clue what we have in Garrett Cole, and that's not something just about a month ago I could have imagined saying. It really is concerning, and whether Chapman was using it or not, because he's another guy who was unhittable in the first 2 months of the season. Over the last month, once the crackdown came, completely different pitcher. Like, I know he goes for these bumps and stuff throughout the season, and every season it looks like he has a little bump in the road. When he completely loses the plate and loses control, but it's going on for a little bit, so it's something to really be kind of alarmed about. Lisa, what are your takeaways from this before I get to the pitch selection and the Pete Alonso at that?
I mean, I'm a little concerned for Cole because I feel like, and potentially Chapman too, because I feel like once it becomes a mental thing, it's a lot harder to course correct that, right? So it's not like mechanically either one of them is looking really crazy. I just feel like mentally both of them are shook in a sense. So whether it's because they were reliant on the sticky stuff or they were somewhat reliant on it and now they don't feel as confident without it. I don't know what it is. But it's definitely something is affecting them and several other pitchers in the league, and I just hope they get it together, because when I hear that a pitcher, they said Cole left the game because of fatigue. I mean, fatigued or not, Bundy barfed on the pitcher's mound. Like, that to me is fatigue. Like, you need to leave the game because of that. If I got to leave work every time I felt fatigued or, stop playing, Ed, we were playing softball and there was a crash landing at home plate where I got several bumps and bruises. I sat out the rest of that game, and the next game I was like, Ed, put me back in.
Remember, you said I'm good, and I'm like, I think you meant you're good as in I'm
like, don't put me in, and I was like, no, I want to play.
Put me in. I was like, holy shit, yeah. Let's do it. Let's go.
And I don't get paid for that, Garrett Cole. So you need to, figure out this fatigue thing, my friend. You're getting paid a lot, and I understand there's high expectations. There's high expectations for every ace on a team. And the expectations seem a lot higher because we're in New York, right? And New York is definitely the toughest market for any professional player to play in because of how passionate our fans are. Like, our fans are probably the most vocal and true about like what's going on with their team. So I hope he figures it out. We need him. We need him. We need the team. The team seemed to rally around him when he became a Yankee, and we need that energy again. I mean, I don't want us to be dependent upon one, like only the ace. We need to rely on, like you said, all of the relievers. We need to rely on hitting. We need to rely on fundamental baseball, which we'll get into when we talk about the Yankees too. But like those are some of the things we have to focus on. So I really hope the like mental block that it seems like both of them are experiencing right now, I hope it corrects soon. We need that. We need our ace and we need our closer back on at least at 85%. I'll take them both at 85%. They don't have to be at 100. They need to be at least 85 though.
Yeah. Because if we're counting on percentages, I mean, Chapman's probably at a 0% right about now. I mean, honestly, I don't have any confidence for him to get anything out. And in this game, I mean, I would say Cole is probably at like 70. I mean, maybe less, 60% or something like 60. That. Yeah, 60. Yeah, probably a 60%. But we need him to be Garrett Cole. We don't need him to be just like, 3 and change ERA guy who strikes out a lot of people once in a while. He needs to be one of the top like 3 pitchers in all of baseball. Mm-hmm. And right now, since the crackdown, he hasn't. I mean, he seems to be a very cerebral guy and who really knows his stuff with pitching. So I feel confident he'll figure it out, whether he has to just learn how to pitch differently, because I know he's also had those comments in post games where he said he needs to learn how to adjust and pitch differently, which again, it's kind of an admission without admission that you were using it. So what are you adjusting from if you're not adjusting from that? So I right now I have confidence in it, and I know Chapman has also had these completely off the wall things where he suddenly loses it and eventually finds it. We need to have him find it. And we'll get into a possible temporary solution for Chapman, but you can't run away from him forever. So that takes us to the nightcap last night of the second half of the doubleheader, which the Yanks had salvaged 4-2 over the Mets. So this was the game. I went to the first game with Angie, and then I didn't go to the second game because I have 2 puppies and didn't want to leave them home alone with fireworks going on. But 7 innings for each of these, right? So let's just get this straight. The reason this is a doubleheader is because the Friday game got rained out, which was supposed to be a regular baseball game of 9 innings. Mm-hmm. And then we have the second game, which was, they were because of the rules that Major League Baseball instituted last season due to COVID and for protection of the players not wanting to have them around each other too much, they instituted it this season. Things have obviously drastically changed at this point. You have people sitting around on Wednesday night. Exactly. Yeah, it was Wednesday night for over 5 hours for a rain delay.
In the rain.
So in the rain, right? So they're sitting around. So it's okay for them to do that. It's okay for the fans to do that as well. But it's not okay to have 9-inning baseball games in a doubleheader. And the fact that you made it split admission, not single admission, because I assumed it was going to be a single admission. And I thought my tickets for Friday were going to be, use that credit for a later game in the season. And I was like, okay, I'll trade it in for one of the Boston games, because I'm figuring the price point should be around the same. And nope, split admission doubleheader on 4th of July. And apparently Jack Curry had reported that the Yankees actually suggested that this game be made up on September 12th, which the Yankees are facing the Mets the weekend of 9/11 for the anniversary, which should be a pretty unique situation there. And the Mets are the ones who shut it down and said no, because they were going to it would have been the third time that the Yankees and Mets had a doubleheader in different stadiums, which has been pretty cool to see. And I've actually been fortunate enough to I went to both of them, which was pretty wild time, because you just jump on a train and go over, and then it was like, okay, let's do it all over again. But it's something Major League Baseball really needs to take a look at again, because now with fans in the stands, you're going to get people like myself that are pretty pissed off about, I paid money to see a full baseball game, not a 7-inning baseball game, a full baseball game.
And you paid full price.
Full price. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So what I was getting to. I paid full price for this. So either you give us vouchers for like free hot dog, pretzel, soda fiasco, or a free beer or something like that. You got to do something.
At least throw in a bobblehead.
I'll throw in I don't exactly. Oh, I mean, shit. I mean, look behind me. I'll take the damn bobblehead over whatever else you're going to give. But you got to do something for it because it's honestly a slap in the face of the fans for this to keep on happening now. When there were no fans in the stands, that, honestly, who cares? I still don't like the 7-inning thing, but I understood it and was more willing to accept it. But now that have fans in the stands, and think about it, the people on Sunday paid full price as well. For no reason at all, they get turned into a 7-inning game. Yeah. It's something they got on their hands, and I have no problem if because baseball does seem to be making things up as they go along. Just say, hey, listen, post All-Star game, there are no more 7-inning doubleheaders. Doubleheaders are back to being a full 9 innings. Let's go. I don't know what the heck the percentage of players are on each team that are fully vaccinated at this point, but apparently a good percentage of them are. I think they're safe because that's why baseball said that they did this, not for any other reason. That's what they used. Get back to it. This is not something that can continue past the season. You can't have the 7-inning doubleheaders. Got to end. It's
yeah, and to your point, like it's remarkable that they passed up. I mean, I'm certainly not thinking of it like this, but if you're one of the people in their marketing departments, the fact that they were going to make it up the weekend of 9/11, right? 9/11. One part of 9/11 happened in New York City. And both New York teams do a lot for their communities. It would have been very significant to have that doubleheader, one at Citi Field and one at Yankee Stadium on that weekend while we're honoring it again. So, and I'm not saying they should do it that way from a marketing standpoint, but like I can't imagine the marketing departments of both teams, or of the Mets, according to you, being like, no, we're not going to do it then. We're just going to have a doubleheader or 7 innings each. Now,
yeah, that was per Jack Curry. That I didn't talk to them.
Yeah,
I wish I was able to, but Jack Curry, I tweeted that the other day. So it's just something you got to look at. You got to do better by the fans for the 7-inning situations are there. Plus, also, I mean, thankfully, I didn't have any personal plans the day of 4th of July, so which is why I looked at the weather and I'm like, all right, it's been shitty. It's not going to be shitty. I'm just going to go. Because my first instinct was, no, trade this game in for another game. I'm not wasting this. I paid full price for I'm not getting 7 innings. But then I just decided that, but there are other people there who probably made plans on 4th of July. That's why they bought their tickets for July 2nd. And they probably didn't go to the game, and they probably had lost some gate, and I'm sure they'll make it up somewhere else. But bottom line is, you got to cut the crap with the 7-inning doubleheaders, or you got to just do better. You got to do better by your fans. But let's get to the game that was the night game. Nestor Cortez started the now famous mustache rocking Nestor Cortez started the game. He went 3 in the third, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 4 strikeouts. I turned to Angie, Lisa, and I was like, I was laughing a lot, and I was smiling, and I'm kind of like, and after how crappy they've been playing, and it's been frustrating me, I was like, I'm genuinely having a lot of fun watching Nestor Cortez pitch. His deviations in his delivery and his wacky windup. He even had Brandon Nimmo laughing at one point in the middle of the at-bat because of something he did. He did this weird leg kick and
he did a little,
yeah, it was swinging leg thing and just delivered it. Because he doesn't throw 98 miles an hour and he doesn't have a great breaking ball, but he's like, I'm going to do old school pitching. I'm going to mix up speeds. I'm going to do that kind of like David Cohn used to do. David Cohn used to invent pitches on the mound. I mean, literally change arm angles and all the other stuff. So it was kind of fun to see. Do not like where Boone took him out of the game because I think he definitely, and I know Cortez was not fully stretched out. I get that. He was not going to be able to go a full. Ideally, you would have wanted your starter like Cole. We were hoping Cole was going to go 6 innings out of the 7. But I figured Cortez could have gave them at least finish the 4th inning or maybe even go into the 5th. Yeah. He takes him out. Darren O'Day comes in, starts making a mess, and I was like, oh, God, not again. Please, not again. This cannot happen. But Gio Urshela popped a 3-run homer the other way, which, by the way, I want to say something. We saw one inning of Yankees baseball where Luke Voigt got a leadoff double. Rougned Odor bunted successfully.
Yes.
Action on the bases. A 3-run homer the other way by Gio Urshela, which no knock. Gio Urshela has been one of their best players all season. And then, ready? And again, the good thing we're sitting down. There was a stolen base attempt on the New York Yankees.
I know.
I don't even care that he got thrown out. I don't care that Andujar got thrown out. I just wanted to see it attempted. I couldn't care less whether he was a save or out. I was like, holy shit, action. But the star of the game was Chad Green, who came in and he pitched the last 3 innings. He should have got an old school save. I thought it was like a very odd decision, but I guess it kind of makes sense because the scorer's decision was to give him the win. I thought he was going to get the save. But he pitched the final 3 innings, no hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts, and closed the game in the 7th inning with an immaculate inning. Yeah. Only the second of the season for the Yankees, because we had noted that Michael King had done that recently as well. And I wanted to pull up the Katie Sharp. So this one wasn't Katie Sharp, but Chad Green of the Yankees is the first pitcher in the modern era to pitch 3+ perfect innings, strike out 6 batters, and have an immaculate inning all in the same game. So that's pretty impressive whenever you can do things like that. And this one was from Katie Sharp. This is the first time in franchise history that the Yankees have had 2 pitchers throw an immaculate inning in the same season.
Wow.
At this point, when you do something for the first time in franchise history for the Yankees, it's automatically saying something because they've obviously been around a while.
Oh, yeah.
And they've been a lot of successful teams, and they've done a lot of shit. So, I'm always kind of like, very impressed whenever I hear that's the first, time that that's happened in Yankees history. So at least it was that. So we got to at least go away with the, a smile on our faces, at least, from that weekend, avoiding the sweep. So let's get to our awards quick before we jump on to our other segment. Lisa, so for you, offensive, who is the force is strong with player of the week? Who did you go with?
So I told you before today's podcast, I looked at stats for 8 of our players, and I counted from the Angel series and the Met series how many at bats, how many hits. Only 2 of them stood out to me, so I hope you pick the other person. But and did they stand out? Is how I'm gonna phrase it. But I'm gonna go with Gio Urshela. Okay. So he had 16 at bats, 6 hits, and his average when all was said and done is 274.
Listen, Gio's an excellent pick. He was one of the 2 that I was looking at. I personally am with Aaron Judge.
That was my other, so we're on the same page.
We're on the same page. We're on the same stats. We're in sync, like Justin Timberlake. So over the last 7 games, Judge is hitting 308 with a 379 on base percentage, 692 slugging. He hit 3 homers this week, driving in 5. He was 8 for 26, 4 runs scored, and drawing 3 walks. And he only struck out 4 times this week, which is not. The way it may have pronounced it may have sounded like I was being sarcastic, but I'm really not. Like it's good. He's cutting down on the strikeouts, which is something that Judge, has needed. It's something he wanted to work on. He talked about it before the season, and it's something that he is doing. He's still striking out, for all time, look of baseball. You can say it's still a high number, but for him, it's cutting down. He's working on it. He is, he's getting it done. So that turns us to our pitcher of the week, which is what we refer to as the I Have Spoken pitcher of the week. And I don't think there's any question of who this is. I mean, it's Chad Green.
Absolutely.
We just went over the reasons why. So not a lot of pitching to talk about.
Oh my gosh. I mean, after the night game of the doubleheader, I texted you and I wrote, Green's my pitcher of the week. And then I sent you that the gif of my hero. I mean, come on. He had to come in game 1 and game 2 to shut things down for us. And as you mentioned, in game 2 of the doubleheader, he was lights out for multiple innings. I mean, thank you, Chad Green. Thank you for showing up and doing it for us, because we really needed that win. My gosh. I can, all day long. It was George Steinbrenner's birthday yesterday. And all day long, all I could think of was this man must be rolling over in his grave, cursing people out wherever he is. Like getting ready to if there was thunder and lightning, it was probably because of him, not because of anything else. He was probably freaking out. And that's all I could think of was George Steinbrenner. Oh my gosh, this is the kind of must-win series, and we barely won the last game. And we didn't point this out. They won the game. They were able to maintain it because there was a wild pitch, and Gardner came home.
That's the best offensive weapon the Yankees have had outside of Aaron Judge this year consistently has been wild pitches and pass balls. Not something you want to rely on as a team known as the Bronx Bombers by any stretch of the imagination. So I guess let's just get to it. I mean, what the fuck is wrong with the Yankees? I mean, this is a team. There's no way to sugarcoat it. I'm sorry. I couldn't just not say it, what the frig is wrong with the Yankees for some this is a team that was universally picked by experts, not just by paid experts. We'll put it that way. And everyone else who kind of figured the American League was looking pretty weak this season going into it. The Yankees are going to steamroll the division. They're going to steamroll the league. Maybe the White Sox might put up a little bit of a challenge. I'm pretty sure I even said that in our season preview. But that's what it kind of looked like. The Rays looked like they were taking a step back after trading away Snell and some other big pieces. And the Red Sox looked like they were nowhere near, going to be any kind of a threat whatsoever. But they are apparently threats. And the Yankees have been fairly healthy this season. It's not like they can say they've had a bunch of injuries. There's just a lot of players underperforming all at the same time. If you want to look at it from the approach of sitting around waiting for 3-run homers to happen, well, guess what? They lead the league with runners left on base. When they're hitting homers, 67% of their home runs are solo home runs, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. But their offense looks terrible. They hit solo homers, and that's pretty much the only time that they score. Not a lot of traffic on the bases, which is why I got pretty excited when we saw a double and a homer and a bunt and a stolen base attempt all in one inning. I was like, holy crap. This might be more than we've seen in over weeks at some point.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And the starting pitching has held them up for most of the season. Otherwise, I don't know where the heck they would be if the starting pitching wasn't kind of pitching over their heads maybe a little bit earlier in the season when we had Corey Kluber was healthy and, he was really good for them as well. Hopefully we'll get him back at the end of the season, and I'm really hoping that it's games that mean something by the time he comes back. They were game over 500. It's July 5th. I mean, they're 10 games back of the Red Sox. If you continue on this pace, I mean, it's not hard. You can do the math. You're going to win 82 games, and you're probably not making the playoffs. And it's just the reality of the situation. Now, do we think they're going to continue on this pace? I'm going to still lean towards saying no. They can't. The back of the baseball card, like Michael Kay says a lot, is something that has to shine through at some point. I mean, almost by accident, they have to be better than a game over 500 in the second half of the season. I do think they need a shakeup too. I'm not just saying, make a trade, because that always, is something that solves everything. It's not, but you need something. Another person we can look at is Aaron Boone. Is it really Aaron Boone's fault? I mean, I don't think so. I don't think it's necessarily his fault, but somebody has to be held accountable. You can't fire the players, right? You can't fire the players. I mean, I'm sure, and you mentioned, I hate using the term because it's just not the case, but if George was alive, George was alive, Boone probably would have been fired in April. Mm-hmm. And if Lisa, you could speak to it on Hal's comments of what he actually touched on that as well.
Yeah, and I have to say, I really respected what he said. So, coming in and filling in the shoes of what his father represented, there's sort of an expectation that people have that he's, it's gonna be ruthless, it's gonna be vicious, it's gonna be all about winning. And while the mentality of the New York Yankees is to always win, to always be in the World Series, to always be world champs, I think where George Steinbrenner was like, I'm gonna do that, like no holds barred. I'm gonna get that done no matter what. Sometimes we do have years where like there's development. We have to grow talent. We have to go back to basics with some of the things that we need to do, and we have to work on fundamentals and build that for a couple of years. Now, it's been a long time since our last World Series win. And I think, Hal is realizing that. But one of the things I appreciated was in a New York Times article by Tyler Kepner. He said his father was one of the best at what he did, and this is his quote: "All I can do is my best, be my own person, make my decisions in the way that I have always made decisions, which is putting as much thought into a decision as possible, taking the time to do just that. There's no doubt I'm a little less spur of the moment than he was in a lot of ways." And I appreciate that because, listen, there was a big stretch of time in the 80s and early 90s where George Steinbrenner made decisions that did not help the team at all. I mean, I'm sure Don Mattingly could be like, yeah, I was the victim of that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's not always good to be a hothead and do things, based on your emotion. And I'm probably going to contradict myself in a second by saying how I love how some of the Yankees are showing some emotion. And when I was talking about body language before, I'm seeing some of them be frustrated. Okay, but then you have to turn that into something productive, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that struck me is that Cashman straight out said, yeah, the Yankees suck right now. And that's how we feel. They do.
Yeah.
They suck right now. It's really tough to watch them. I agree with you. I feel like at some point things are going to turn around. I think it's probably it could be too little too late if they don't do it very, very soon. I really hope that these two sets of series coming up before the All-Star break, and then having that break where they can kind of regroup mentally and physically. I hope that helps. I really hope that helps them. I hope that they go into the 2 series before the break and have really productive games where there's a lot of getting back to, there's a lot more base stealing, there's a lot more aggression on the bases, there's a lot more, not making throwing errors. Luke Voigt catching everything that comes to him when he's playing first base. Not throwing the ball in front of the runner, throwing it behind them, like hitting your cutoff man. Hit the cutoff man, please, is one of the things I need people to do. I mean, one of the things that stood out, we didn't mention this during the past 2 series too, was that Aaron Judge nailed a couple of guys who I can't remember who it was on the Mets. He overran second thinking that he was going to go all the way to third and came back.
Yeah.
And Aaron Judge nailed him. I don't know if it was Nimmo or but like I want to see more of that. I want to see more aggressive when you're out there. Be more aggressive, because the other teams are all doing it. Everybody else is running on us. Everybody else is throwing down bunts when they can. Odor's drag bunt was perfect, and it's just what we needed in that inning to keep things moving. So while I appreciate Hal, I do appreciate that he's not just like his dad. I didn't necessarily love his hot-headedness all the time. It was good sometimes. I would love to see it if he did it a little bit at some point. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that he said, that Cashman said, I'm sorry, that he said and Aaron Boone said was, it's on the players. Like, this is mostly the players having a problem that they need to fix. And I agree with that. I really do. You came to the Yankees for a reason. Whether you were homegrown and they brought you to the major leagues after being in the minors for a while and making your way up, or the Yankees traded for you, or whatever it is, however you ended up at the Yankees, you were there for a reason. They don't just willy-nilly pick people. So we need you to act like a New York Yankee. And that means you really need to course correct these things. If you're not hitting, if you're striking out, so I'm seeing a lot of strikeouts looking. Like that's also been frustrating to me too. Swing your bat. Swing your bat. You never know. It might be like an oops and you get on base. But you have to connect more, and you can't. I know that one of the things we've talked about and we'll continue to talk about is the umpires and their calls too. But you can't go by that. If it looks like a ball and feels like a ball, it might be called a strike. So, don't just rely on that. Try to do what you can. I don't know. I appreciate Hal for saying that. I would like for him to put a little bit more fire under everybody. I also appreciate that Cashman said, yeah, they suck right now. I appreciate that honesty.
Yeah. No, I agree. I liked a lot what Hal said in Hal's interview. He also laid the blame at the players' feet. He, he gave a boost of confidence to Cashman. Mm-hmm. He gave a mostly boost to Boone, because the one thing I found interesting is when they had said, hey, Boone's contract is up after the season. Someone asked him about an extension. He's like, it's July. At the time, it's, I'm not going to go there right now, which is a smart thing. Listen, Aaron Boone is managing for his job. If they continue at this pace for the rest of the season, I don't see any way, shape, or form he comes back.
No.
I can't imagine it. I'm sorry. It's not possible. And again, I don't think it's completely on him, but somebody has to take the heat for what's happening. I mean, we went over it before. The expectations in the season was going to be World Series. It was like, hey, Yanks are playing the Dodgers. Dodgers are going to be a tough series for them, but we'll see how it happens. Yanks could have added pieces at the trade deadline and to get up to catch the Dodgers. That was the talk. That talk is out the window now. When you're playing the type of baseball where fundamentally you're terrible. I mean, the defense has been awful. Base running, fundamentals, like you said, Lisa, like stupid things like that you shouldn't even be thinking about on a major league level, or where it's happening. It's the execution of this is where they're getting destroyed, and that's where that has to change now. Whether if they're going to be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline, and again, I can't believe we're talking about this, with this team going into it, but it's the truth. If you look at their schedule coming up. They had a West Coast trip when they faced Seattle, not to bury the lead with the West Coast thing, but they're going to Seattle. They're playing Houston, which is going to be a serious series for them as well. It was, I'm sure those fans are going to want to give it back to the Yanks, just like we admittedly had gave it to their fans, their players when they were here. Then you got the All-Star break, so you got a little bit to reset. Then you got a 4-game set against Boston at home, which you're 0-9 against. So time to show up. Then you got Philly comes into town, who's been so-so for 2 games. And then you're going to Fenway for another 4-game set right after that. And then you have Tampa Bay for 3 games after that.
Yeah, so it doesn't get easy.
This is it, though. Over this stretch it's going to determine, because that leads into the trade deadline. So that's going to determine where you're at. If you're still screwing around with 500, you're probably going to be sellers. And what you're selling is a whole nother story, because what are you selling? Right. Frazier has destroyed his value, and Duhar has destroyed his value. They're not exactly playing. The people aren't going to be lining up to get them. I've seen a few articles by some people, and I think Joel Sherman was one of them with the Post, throwing out the notion of trading Aaron Judge. Because the Red Sox traded Mookie Betts and everything like that. Listen, between Cashman and Hal, if you guys are not going to resign Judge, right, because you're worried about his injury history or something like that, then you should do it. Mostly, though, absolutely not. He's the face of your franchise. You sign him. I'm hoping that they do, but he's doing a good job staying healthy this season. He's been their most consistent player. You want to see him stay, and he wants to stay, and you work it around him. But I do think the team needs a shakeup. You got to get better defensively. There are some spots where you can get better. Luke Voigt has been showing a lot recently that he is what I've always said he is. He's a DH with a glove. He's not a first baseman. And a DH spot is currently occupied by Giancarlo Stanton, who is another guy who's I understand why they're DHing him all the time and why he's become a full-time DH, because they're scared of his leg injuries. Time to get in the outfield, my friend. It's time to get in the outfield. We're being forced to do extremes, convert Miguel Andujar to an outfielder who has done, for his perspective, he's done a great job of trying to do what he can with what he has been given. Okay, it's not an easy thing to do what he's being asked to do, but we have a guy who was an NL MVP, who's played the outfield his entire career. He wasn't DHing in the National League.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to go get a glove. Go find your glove. I'm sure it's there somewhere. And it's time to get out there, big man. Get out there. Get out to left field. Maybe play right field sometimes when Judge is going to DH or gets a game off. We kind of need you out there, so maybe we can DH Voit at times as well. You know, maybe that'll help overall with the defense. They can shift people around. Maybe slide DJ over. Miguel Andujar should be the one who's at first base. As a third baseman, shifting over to first base, he can work on the footwork over there. His biggest problem, Andujar, was his throws. If you move him to first base, you eliminate the throw. You don't have to really worry about the throw. It's only once in a while. The guy who plays first base knows that. Got to throw like once a month. It's not that big a deal. But that's kind of what it needs to happen. So, you know, it's a chain. It's a domino effect, you know, of some of the things that they can do. And I'm sure if Stan gets out there, he can, unless he's dealing with something already that we're not hearing about. You know, and if that's the case, maybe that's something. And I know Boone teased it before the season, and he keeps on getting pressed about it. It's like, you said Stanton might be playing the outfield at times. Like, where is it? What happened? Yeah, we would like to see it. I mean, the guy is obviously a major league outfield. So would I. He needs to be out there. That's it. Like, get him out there. And that's something that can be done. And that can help your first base situation, your overall defense. But some of the guys that I kind of looked at that were maybe potential trade targets for the Yanks that wouldn't, you know, cost them everything if they're going to be buyers. So let's just assume they get hot over the next couple of weeks. And it's like, all right, shave off 5 games. You're within striking distance of the division and you're back in the wild card too. You know, a guy to look at is Starling Marte of the Miami Marlins. He's a center fielder. You know, his contract is expiring. He's the guy we need. And no offense to Brett Gardner, but we need another outfielder. And he's a center fielder, a really good one, and he's a left-handed bat as well. That's something that we need. You can look at the Pittsburgh Pirates. Brian Reynolds is a 300 hitter with he's got about 14, 15 homers, I believe, at this point. He's another guy. Lefty bat can definitely help the Yanks out there. He's in his late 20s also. Mm-hmm. Adam Frazier, second baseman, outfielder. If you kind of move the pieces around, second base could open up. He's way better than Rougned Odor, even though we like this drag bunt and everything. But Adam Frazier would be a nice fit also on the Yanks. Another left-handed bat, another 300 hitter. Just throwing it out there. Maybe a big deal with the Pirates for 2 guys that could help out.
And both of those guys are all-stars this year.
Yes, which was probably going to jack up the price a little bit. I'm not saying that they're going to get these guys for peanuts, but It's not that you're trying to trade for Mike Trout. Because that's going to be the guy everyone throws out there. Oh, trade for Mike Trout. Yeah, okay, it's that easy. Yeah, sure. Sure, the Angels are dying to give us Mike Trout. Throw in Shohei Ohtani while you're at it. Sure, why not? And then another guy that I'm going to reiterate again because the Cubs are starting to dwindle a little bit. My man, Anthony Rizzo. Lefty bat, great first baseman, really good glove. And if your first baseman's good, he helps the rest of your infield get a lot better because they don't have to be perfect with the throws all the time. And another lefty bat who's a middle-of-the-order bat. Just some names I've kind of thrown out there. I know I've mentioned Rizzo. I might mention Rizzo every single episode until it happens. I'm trying to will it. I'm willing it into existence, Lisa.
Manifest
I'm trying.
It, Ed. Manifest
I'm trying. I will. If it happens, we will have a Anthony Rizzo party. That's what we're going to do. We will literally have a party in his honor that he's a New York Yankee. I would be over the moon about that. But some of the things, like we had Aaron Judge had called a players-only meeting. He said some things like you had Lisa alluded to earlier. A lot of guys said a lot of things that they needed to get off their chest, and that's something that a lot of teams need to do. I know he had mentioned too. They usually do it at the All-Star break. He's like, you couldn't wait. So that's good. You're saying that. Boone has been asked about things, and Boone also said talk is cheap at this point. Like, what do you want me to say every single night? Because I'm sure it's a pain in the ass to get asked about the same things over and over and over again. And you probably get fed up with it. It's the same problems over and over again. So I'm kind of liking what I'm hearing out of him. And I know I forgot the writer that had asked him about it a couple of weeks ago when he was like, do you think the team is kind of getting used to losing? And he was like, he actually got upset. I was like, get out of here with that shit. Get out of here with that. And I was like, all right, I like it. I like to see a little bit of fire in there. And Stanton has been another guy who's just said, listen, we've kind of stunk it up. And earlier in the week, by the way, there was a night where it was after Monday's game. where Boone had said, "Oh yeah, our focus was there. Everything was on point. No one can question that. Like it was good." And Stanton in the same night was like, "It wasn't. We're still not there yet. We're trying. We're trying to get through it, but we need to pick it up." Stanton, is I know a lot of fans like to hate on him and stuff like that, but he is emerging as a little bit of a leader. Him and Judge are trying to lead the way now, and I'm liking that. At least there's something emerging out of that because the team obviously needed leadership. And what Cashman said, you covered what Cashman said perfectly. I mean, he said we're unwatchable right now. We suck right now, and you like the honesty about it, but it's time to do something about it now. It is absolutely time to start kicking it into gear and doing something about it. You can't go ahead and just, God forbid they remain like this and you don't sell at the trade deadline and you run it back again next year. No, I don't think the window for this team is this group is closed yet, but they do need a little bit of a shakeup to kind of get to that next level. At least that's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think we need, one of the things that struck me as I was preparing for today was we have too many right-handers.
So the list was all lefties. Lefties on the list. No more righties.
Yeah, or at least throw some switch hitters in there. I mean, I know we lost Aaron Hicks for a while, and whenever he comes back, and we'll see how he is when he comes back. But we need a couple of switch hitters. We need people that are going to be able to switch things up, and it doesn't matter who's pitching. We could face you from either side of the plate and be, just as intimidating and dominant as we've been in years past. We really need these things. So I'm glad Boone is getting heated about being asked the same questions over and over, and he's not giving up. I mean, I do appreciate the optimism. I really love that Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are speaking up a little bit more about what they're talking about behind closed doors and seeing it too. Giancarlo Stanton popped up at the game the other day and slammed his bat on the ground. And then you see his face when he's on base and somebody else, doesn't move him and he seems frustrated. We were watching the game last night and they showed him in the dugout and he was like, and my mom was like, Why does he look so mad? I'm like, I'd be mad too if I was on the Yankees right now. I would be trying to shake people up. I have to say, the way the way he and Judge are, from what I'm hearing, are talking to the other players. It reminds me of when we were losing games and Rick would hype everybody up. So shout out to Rick.
Yeah. No, you need something. You need some people to get something going, and it can't always be the manager. Sometimes you need help from everyone else to get things together and to get everyone. You need leadership from other places, and that's what it looks like. The Yanks are starting to formulate on its own because the question was who was the leader on the Yankees,
right? You couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell. I mean, last year it looked like it was Luke Voigt, honestly, for a little while, and I'm pretty sure he's in a weird spot where he hasn't really been with the team too much this year. So it's kind of hard for a guy to walk in off the IL and then suddenly start yapping and pumping out his chest and everything like that. But the two big names on the team are the ones who are starting to say something. So.
He can't help but puff out his chest the way he's built.
Well, yeah, there's also that.
His shirt can't even stay closed.
No,
the other guy who I wish would step it up though. I would love to see Gary Sanchez be a little bit more vocal to the team. I mentioned last podcast that we aired that Jorge Posada is my all-time favorite Yankee because as the catcher, you see everything going on, right? So you see what's happening in the field. And then even though Gary Sanchez has his fits and spurts where he's consistent and then inconsistent over the course of his career, when he's consistent, which he's been pretty consistent as of late, that's when you're all right, everybody, I see what's going on in the field. I see all these errors, these throwing mistakes. I can't run, but I need all of you to steal. And then I'll move you, I'll hit the ball and move you. But I would love to see Gary Sanchez also become more of a vocal leader on the team. Not sure why that hasn't happened yet with him. I feel like a catcher is a natural leader on a baseball team. I'm not saying that because I catch for our team because I don't think I'm the leader of our team. I think I'm a motivator, not a leader. But I don't know. I would just love to see a few of the guys step up and not just the ones that we think should, right? So when you think of the leaders on a team, I think people naturally go to Garrett Cole, right? They go to Aaron Judge. But yeah, let's get some other people to be vocal about this. I'm really surprised that, from my point of view, Gardner's been quiet.
Well, I think part of the reason Gardner, I mean, I know that's part of the reason they brought Gardy back was for leadership because he's a veteran. I mean, but I think part of it is when you're hitting like 200 or 197, it's kind of your words don't really hold as much weight, as they did at one point. So, and that sucks, but it's just kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe that's probably why that's not happening. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see how things pick up by the trade deadline. But that's pretty much what we're sharing, what we think. By the way, the quick thing I wanted to mention: did you notice yesterday in the first game, Tim LeCastro got the start? Tim LeCastro does not wear batting gloves. It made me think of Jorge Posada immediately. I was just like, there he goes. I don't know. I'm kind of curious to know, does he do some of the things that Jorge Posada supposedly did to his hands to help toughen them up? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of when you want to wear batting gloves, or if he goes to give you a high five, you're like, elbow, let's go. Nope. We're not high fiving, buddy. Like, maybe go wash up before we do that. But I don't know. Just popped into my mind. Exactly. That really needs to be in everyone's back pocket, like Anthony Rizzo had last year. Anthony Rizzo had, when the guy got on first, or when they first started playing, he popped out a Purell, was like offering it to somebody. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh man!
Because I'm going to keep plugging Anthony Rizzo. I'm trying to will it into existence. All right, so let's just talk about quickly, since the pitching matchups are only out for the Seattle series, but the Bombers are about to head out west for what is a very important 6-game West Coast road trip leading into the All-Star break. The pitching matchups we got the next couple of nights are Jameson Tyone against Sheffield, our old farmhand who was in the Jesus Montero trade. Yeah. He's got a 5.88 ERA and it's 5-7. So a lefty who's a guy that the Yankees should absolutely tear up. Well, we'll see how that goes when you're hitting the way that the Yanks have done. Wednesday night, I guess it's a late night start for those who will be on the East Coast.
You guess. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's kind of how it goes. I'll get into that in a second. So Wednesday night is Domingo Germán versus Kikuchi, who is actually one of their better pitchers on the Mariners. He's a righty. I don't know, he's a left-handed pitcher, another guy that the Bombers should match up favorably against with their mostly right-handed hitting lineup. He's 6-3 with a 3.18 ERA. And then the Wednesday afternoon's game is Jordan Montgomery back on the hill against Gilbert, who's 2-2 versus at a 4.10 ERA. Yes, I guess for those who will remain on the East Coast, it'll be late night Yankees, which is rough. I admit it is extremely rough. It's a whole process. Normally it's a process where I will make sure that I sit on my couch. I cannot lay in my bed and watch the games because guess what? I'd be like a parrot. I'll be out in 1 or 2 innings. I'll phase in and out where I'm like, oh, it's the 7th inning. It's 8th inning. All right, wait, it's the 9th inning. Got to sit up. Let's go. Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of us. It's a challenge. At least there's a 4:10 start for Thursday's game. So there is that. So either if you're going to stay up, awesome for that. If you're going to set your DVR or catch the highlights the next day, that works too. Thankfully, some of us are going to continue their baseball bucket list tradition as me and my wife Angie are heading out. We're flying out to Seattle tomorrow morning. So we will be at the games in Seattle. Maybe not. Throw out a video or two or something for the group, for the page. And we'll see. Maybe if I find the proper food. This is the first baseball trip I've done since we've started the Empire 161 show. So I'm going to see how it goes with that. One of the big I like to always try the ballpark foods that are the signature foods. But with Seattle, it is chocolate-covered crickets. So we'll see about that, I guess. I was mentioning that Angie and I did try it. Actually, Steve Bernstein went with us to a thing called MLB Food Fest. That was something that baseball did. I hope it's something that they bring back because it was pretty cool. They did it in Manhattan, and each team brought their signature dish to there. And you got to try it. You paid a certain fee. You had unlimited food. I mean, it was sample sizes. It was unlimited beer from different places and drinks and stuff. It was really cool. And they also gave you 2 free tickets to a Yankees game and 2 free tickets to a Mets game, like a voucher for both. So it was a really cool thing. Hopefully we get to see that back next season. But Seattle did bring the crickets, and we did try the crickets, and it's very crunchy with a weird texture on the inside. So I'll say that. Maybe there might be a video with me having one again. We'll see. Maybe I'll just do it for the sake of the show.
More power to you, Ed. More power to you.
Maybe that is the case, or maybe we'll see how it goes. I mean, it wasn't the worst tasting thing. I'll admit that. It wasn't the worst tasting thing in the world. It was just crunch and it was after that. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Crunch and squish.
Crunch and swish. The texture was not, as our old buddy Joe Girardi would say, it's not what you want. It's not what you want out of a food dish. But I'm hoping the one night will be a hot dog. So there will be a hot dog there because I always got to sample every hot dog from every ballpark. I mean, this is baseball, people. We have to do that. Speaking
of hot dogs, shout out to Joey Chestnut for breaking his record.
Oh, boy, yes. It was 76, right?
76. Oh.
And the hype man, 76, 76, 76. I was like, holy shit, I need to bring that guy around. What the hell does he do between hot dog eating contests every year? That got me hyped up for it. Shout out to Joey Chestnut for that, for crushing it again. I mean, wow, I don't know. Would you rather? All right, so Lisa, I know you're not a hot dog person.
Not.
So what would you rather have? A hot dog from Seattle, or would you rather have a cricket?
Chocolate covered, right?
Chocolate covered. It's chocolate covered, and it comes with like a lime of some sort on the side. I don't know what they were supposed to do with that, but I don't know if it's like
a
Corona,
shot.
like a Corona, like a shot. Like
does it come with a shot of tequila too? Because if it does, I'm all about the cricket.
Oh no, I'm in then. Then I would be doing it. 2 seconds, I'll be there with it.
No, I honestly, without hesitation, I'd rather the cricket. So there's chocolate involved, which is one of my favorite things. And
I didn't think you were gonna say that.
I do not like hot dogs. I at least know it's just a cricket. When you eat a hot dog, you don't know what you're eating.
That is not something I thought of, but you are correct. That is a fair assessment. that is a completely fair assessment. I'll say that is something that we. Yeah, you're right. The mystery meat. But listen, a Dodger dog is so awesome. Oh my God, a Dodger dog is my favorite hot dog of anywhere that I've been so far. Been to 20 ballparks. Dodger dog takes it, and I can't tell you why. Something in the mystery meat does the trick. I don't know.
It's fair.
It's phenomenal. It's not like a Chicago dog where you put on like a sliced pickle and relish and everything you can find in Chicago. You dump it on there, and that's what a Chicago dog is. It tastes really good, but that's kind of what it is. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see because I'm definitely ballpark foodie guy who I will try. I will find out what it is, and I will try whatever the hell it is at least once. One night will be a hot dog. The other two will be. We'll see what happens, but there could be a cricket video coming up. There could definitely be a cricket video coming up, and we'll see. We'll see how that rolls. Maybe it's better fresh.
Maybe we should do a poll. Can we do a poll on the page and say who wants to see Ed eat a cricket?
Yeah, I think we can make that happen. I think I could try to do that after I wake up from my nap tomorrow, because I'm definitely going to land in the hotel and probably pass out, hopefully for like 3 hours, and then be ready to roll. Once it's game time.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I guess that pretty much wraps up our latest episode. Thanks for joining us, whether it was on the Facebook feed or YouTube or Instagram or Twitter. Thank you so much for the support. If you like what you heard tonight, join us. Keep coming back. That's it. We're going to be here. We're going to keep rolling. Lisa and I are going to keep rolling with this. We're going to be with you and hoping that the Bombers turn things around and get things going, and hope we're talking about acquisitions that are for this season at the trade deadline. Positivity, a good West Coast trip, maybe out of the 6 games, I'll take a 4-2. I'll take a 4-2, maybe just win, say 2 out of 3 bowl series, maybe even a sweep in one.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, if we're going to sweep one, preferably Houston, just saying, but I'll take a sweep either way.
I'll take a sweep either way, especially to being there. I would like to make sure that I'm not going this many miles to go see bad baseball.
Yes. I do hope you have a good time in Seattle. Shout out to Carly and Zach and the baby. Have fun visiting with them, and safe travels both to and from. And we will be back soon, folks. Good, bad, and ugly. We will be here to talk it through with you. So thank you for joining us.
And safe travels to you, since you're going to be heading to Florida.
I'm taking my talents.
As I'm coming back. Yes.
We're gonna tag out. Yes.
Tag out. That's it. Safe trip. Boom. I'm out. Once we square it away, we'll announce it in advance when we're going to be coming back. My guess is we'll try to work it out sometime during the Boston series after the All-Star break. We'll definitely be posting content on the Facebook page, so check that out. If you also want to follow us if you follow us on YouTube, go to Pop Culture Pros, subscribe, check out our playlist. All our episodes are there as well. Twitter, same thing. Follow Pop Culture Pros. That's where we post out our pages, our shows there, and I'll be retweeting the shows as well. So check it out, like it. Always hashtagging Pinstripe Pride and SWAT up. So make sure it gets out to all the Yankee fans that are out there. And yeah, that's another good one. I think I would say. Also, if you are into comic book shows and movies or TV, we'll be pulling double duty tonight and taking a break and then coming back to do another episode of Granny's Peach Tea. So you can join us on all the platforms that I just mentioned. If you're into the Mets, which we do have some fans who support this show who also like the Mets, check out Put It in the Books as well. Farachi and the guys, they do a great job covering the Mets. If you like wrestling, usually Tuesday nights, you got Eric and Tim who cover wrestling on the Just Too Sweet show. I know Stream Wars Pros was on Saturday morning. They had a Saturday morning show. So if you're into like a bunch of streaming services and you have them all, like a lot of us do, we all have 1,000 streaming shows. You can go ahead and check that out. They're always covering that pretty well. Jada and Kyle, I'm sure they'll be doing a review of a pretty big Marvel movie that's coming out later this week, which we'll be covering on Granny's Peach Tea next week as well, on Black Widow. So you can check out our reviews for that. Who am I leaving out? I feel like I'm leaving somebody out. There's so many shows on the network.
Did you say that one?
Yes. No, I did not. That's a great catch. A to Z. So if you like some Wacky's talk with Eric, you can go ahead and check out the A to Z show. I'm trying to go ahead and track that our thing. And you can go check out Eric. He's on Sunday nights, which we'll be normally trying to land on Sunday nights, but we'll keep everyone posted. So for Lisa, for myself, stay safe, have a good night, stay up late. Let's go Yankees.
Bye everybody. Take care. See you soon.
Peace.